the Rav also often quotes the Torah in different places where Hashem speaks about violation of Shabbat, and next to it, Avodah Zarah.
Okay.
Now, I find it interesting that many groups in the Jewish tradition have the custom, during the time they're lighting the candle, the women, they also make prayers for their children, and then say, bring Mashiach now.
Okay.
With the wig on their head, which the Rav have proven through many studies and research, that there's Avodah Zarah involved in it.
Right.
So what happens as a result of such an act?
Some of the Chachamim that were quoted talking about wigs even before the Avodah Zarah issue came out. Some of the Chachamim say that when a woman prays with a wig on, our prayer is not accepted in Shamayim. Our prayer is considered To'evat Hashem. Some very, very harsh things. And this is not just my words, this is theirs. There's several videos that I can send to people of different Gdolei Ador saying some extremely harsh things about the wigs, even without the idol worship. Even without the idol worship. With idol worship, you don't need a video. With idol worship, you don't even need a book. It's a known thing that we are not allowed to benefit out of idol worship in any way, shape, or form. It's a Gemara Meforeshet, it's Shulchan Aruch, it's the 5 books of Moses. There's no secret here. So once someone knows that anything they own was sacrificed, was used for idol worship, they're not allowed to own it anymore, even if it's worth $1 zillion. There's no issue of losing money here. Like some people say, yeah, but if it's going to lose money, maybe there's a leniency. There's no leniency when it comes to losing money on idol worship. And it doesn't make a difference. There's no bitul b'shishim. There's no, it gets canceled out 1 out of 60. Once it's idol worship, it's idol worship. It has to be destroyed. So even before the idolatry issues with wigs, the Chachamim were very, very heavily against it on the Ashkenazi side and the Sephardic side. Unfortunately, things went haywire after the Lubavitcher Rebbe died. After he died, everything went haywire. And the reason why is because many people started creating things out of thin air of what he said and what he didn't say. And a lot of things that he didn't say, they're saying that he said, and so on and so forth, and people are holding to it. So even without the idol worship, it's a problem. With the idol worship, it doesn't matter what the Rebbe said or didn't say, or anyone what said or didn't say. Torah specifically says, once somebody has idol worship even in their house, you have a serious, serious problem. So if you're praying to Hashem with idol worship on your head, this is no different than going to the mikveh while holding a pig in your hand. You go to the mikveh, but you have a pig or a lizard in your hand. Doesn't matter how many times you dip in the mikveh, the pig or lizard in your hand is it's still not a kosher dip. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make a difference how many times you can dip. Instead of 3 times or 7 times, whatever your custom is, it could be 3 million times. Nothing changed because it's still a pig in your hands. You understand? If it's idol worship on your head, you have a serious problem. So, this is not for me. This is for you. This is for Am Yisrael. I'm sure that people are going to want to hang me and crucify me and go against me and make a lot of videos about me and all books and whatever. Fine. Good luck to you. It's what you spend your life with. Good luck. Enjoy. But the point is that if one woman does tshuva, takes off the wig and puts a mitpachet on, it's worth it. Why? It's Am Yisrael. It's Am Yisrael. What else?
Why does the Torah say that Paro continued to sin when it's made clear that Hashem himself hardened his heart? Then that once that happened, Paro was not in control anymore. So why is he referring as a sinner as a result of something that was out of his control?
Because it's still a result of his original actions. He didn't get to it by himself, for no reason. So the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah, I believe, also Avodah Zarah, Gemara says that a person must watch their eyes in the morning, so evil things don't come to them at night. And the Mefarshim, the commentaries say, what does this mean? It says you have to watch your eyes in the morning, during the day. You can't look at women. You can't look at things that are inappropriate. Why? Because evil things will come to you at night. What's evil things? All types of dreams, all types of thoughts that are inappropriate that can lead you to waste seed. And if somebody wastes seed, in essence, they're not only making a sin that the Shulchan Aruch calls the biggest sin in the entire Torah, but also they're creating at least 100 to 300 million enemies. 100 to 300 million demons and spirits that eventually will rip them apart unless they do tshuva. And why are they going to rip them apart? They're going to rip them apart because these spirits were supposed to come to the world. Supposed to go in bodies. And you ruined it, if you will. They're going to take their vengeance. So that's what we talked about in the Shul about Gehinom a little bit, and Shul about Kafakela a little bit. If you want to hear a little more about it, it's in the book of Biyud Aftaya and also Reshit Chochmah. But nonetheless, we've talked enough about the wasting seed aspect of it, and the key is that it's a horrible, horrible mistake, but the sin of the wasting seed doesn't start by itself. There's two types. One is doing it on purpose. One is doing it technically not on purpose. You're sleeping. So why is it the Gemara says, watch your eyes in the morning so you don't have bad things at night? Why does the Reshit Chochmah still say that you get punished for it? Why? Because the wet dream that a person had, the wasting seed they had in the dream, wasn't necessarily no fault. It's still their fault. It's still their fault. It didn't happen by itself. It happened because they looked at something inappropriate in the morning. It happened because they looked at something inappropriate last week. You understand? Same concept here. Same thing with Paro. Paro didn't get to a point of having his free choice removed for no reason. It's still his actions that led to where he is right now. And the fact that his actions led to where he is right now, he still gets punished for where he is right now. As if he's sinning all anew and he's choosing it all anew, simply because his actions led to what it is. It's like a domino effect. Finished?
No.
No.
I have a question. No. Looking at the Tashu's Amram, big he was, right? Why is no part of the forefathers?
Lived at a different time. He is mentioned as one of the 4 people that never sinned. 4 people that never sinned in history. He was one of them. David HaMelech's father, Ishai, or Jesse in English, is one of them. One of Shlomo HaMelech's children was one of them. And the 4th one is Benjamin. Is the 4th one the Gemara says. So 4 people that died and never sinned, and the only reason why they died is because of the original sin of Adam HaRishon. Meaning, if Adam HaRishon never would have sinned, they would have never died. They would have never died. There was no reason to take them out of the world. But as far as why he is not one of the 4 things, from the basic understanding that I have, is that in order for a person to become one of the pillars of Am Yisrael, whether it's one of the forefathers, or a king, or a prophet, or even a major leader, you can't just do it because you read a lot of books. You can't just do it because you didn't make sins. You can't just do it because you just learned a lot. There's a very, very deep requirement that's necessary, which is called Mesirut Nefesh, self-sacrifice. Meaning, obviously, to get to any level of righteousness, you have to have self-sacrifice. But apparently, if you review the self-sacrifice that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov had to make, or Moshe and Aaron had to make, or David HaMelech had to make, or all of the prophets that we had throughout all of history, you had to make. And you're talking about an enormous amount of Mesirut Nefesh that they made that no other person in history made. No other person in history made. So, Mesirut Nefesh has an enormous amount of value in Shamayim. And, listen, if we were able to make the same Mesirut Nefesh as Shlomo Melech, or David HaMelech, or Avraham Avinu, we'd be them. We're still not there. We're still trying to do tshuva first. What else?
At the beginning of the lecture, you talking about Issachar and
Zvulun.
We know that Issachar was the firstborn,
Mhm.
and he was the one studying Torah, and Zebulun, on the other hand, was businessman,
Mhm.
but supporting Issachar. So why did the Zebulun get the blessing first?
Because
And I'm saying that's because I know we've been putting a lot of emphasis on studying Torah. That is very important. And I was just remembering about 2 weeks ago, I read like I think it's I think Brachot 7b or something like that, where Rabbi Yaakov, I believe, said something about not the study, but I forgot the word for it, but like helping the Torah is better than like studying the Torah.
okay, so you're answering your own question. You should answer your own question.
I'm trying to see what's the concept.
What's the concept?
What do they mean by
Okay, so there's a rule in Torah. There's a rule in Torah that says that it's a bigger significance to help another make a mitzvah than to make the mitzvah yourself. To enable another person to make a mitzvah is bigger than you making the mitzvah yourself. Number one, because by making him make the mitzvah, you also get the merit of the mitzvah, and you get the merit of making the mitzvah itself. So it's like you made 2 mitzvot and he made 1. So that's 1. So when it comes to Zevulun is blessed first, not only because he gave him money and he was able to study, and therefore he's supporting him, but also because he's also considered, part of the merit is not only the giving, part of the merit is also as if he studied himself. Like the fact that he studied, for every minute he studied. And on top of it, Zebulun wasn't just purely a financier, where he just gave money to somebody and he didn't study at all. No, he also studied, he just didn't study full time, because he was working. So it was a combination of the two. So that's why he had more merits than someone that just studied full time. When it comes down to learning Torah, it's, of course, critical for a person to learn Torah. But to support Torah and learn Torah is even more. To support Torah and learn Torah is even more, depending. So that's why many of the people that are the big sages and so on, that wanted to increase their merits, wanted to increase their, we're going to Kiruv, we're going into getting, doing Zikuy Rabim and getting other people to do Tshuva, because that's the ultimate level. But as far as learning Torah, good. By itself, it's good, it's amazing. All of Am Yisrael will just learn Torah. But learning Torah and supporting Torah is even better. Learning Torah and doing Zikuy Rabim is the highest possible level. Why? Because you're not only learning the Torah, but you're also getting other people to learn Torah. And that's in essence the Avot Rabbi Natan says that each time you get a person to actually do tshuva, to come back to Hashem, it's as if you created him. It's as if you created another person. Literally, as you become a partner with Hashem in creation. That's why the merit that a person that's involved in Kiruv has is extraordinary, because you can't do Kiruv purely. There's different levels of Kiruv, but you can't do Kiruv purely by just telling people the same thing over and over again. You have to study as well. The same token, you're limited with how much Kiruv you can do if it's just money. Okay, you can do it with money, great. But if you're investing into Kiruv that's actually getting people to do something, significance there. But even that by itself is not enough. Why? Because you have to have merit to have Kiruv. What's the merit to have Kiruv? Is studying Torah.
So it's not just...
It's not. There's no one pill that fixes everything. Okay. You have to do a combination of everything. You have to learn Torah regardless. You have to try to support Torah as much as possible. But ultimately, you got to try to do Kiruv and support Kiruv. There's a lot of work. It's not lo pashut liot Yehudi pashut. It's not simple to be a simple Jew.
So if you don't understand it, you don't do it.
Right.
Also.
But the reason why you're obligated to do kiruv is because your brother or sister's neshama is your responsibility. And they don't have to be your biological brother or sister. They just have to be within your own, circle. Someone that you know exists. Someone that you know exists, it's your responsibility. Hashem put them in your life for you to influence them in one way or another. Sometimes it's with a CD, sometimes it's with an invitation, sometimes it's with a lecture, sometimes with Dvar Torah, whatever it is. You have to do something about it. You can't just continuously live in the world and only care about yourself. At the same token, you can't be motivated to continuously do Kiruv if you're not learning Torah. And usually what happens is that you see people sometimes get very, very excited about doing Kiruv, and then they fall off. Like literally, somebody fell off a mountain. They do Kiruv, they're excited at the beginning. They want to conquer the world. They want to get not just 20 million Jews to do Tshuva, they want 8 billion people to do Tshuva. Want conversions, want this, want that, want everything to do Tshuva. But then all of a sudden they fall off a mountain, they want stop everything. And sometimes even become a Chalei Shabbat. Why? How does such a thing happen? Shem Echem, what happens is that a person that doesn't have continuous learning of Torah on a daily basis is not going to have the continuous merit to have the merit to do Kiruv. Now, when you do Kiruv, you're also stealing employees from the Satan himself. So you're declaring war against the Satan, which means that he's going full force. The only thing you can fight him with, according to the Gemara Masechet Brachot and several other places, is with Torah. If you don't have the Torah, you have nothing to fight him with. So he's fighting you full force because you're going Kiruv. You are fighting with nothing. You're fighting a tank with your fingers. Yeah, shoot. Let's see what happens. Shoot, what happens? Let's see what happens. So you tell him to a tank. You're in front of a tank. Yeah. Shoot, what happens? I'm putting my hand on your tank. Let's see what happens. I'm putting, like there's a hole. I'm putting my hand. I'm blocking your tank. Why? You stop learning Torah. You have nothing to fight him with. So that's what happens. People do Kiruv. They get excited. Everything is great. Satan declares war. They declare war. Everything is great. Then they stop learning, and all of a sudden they start losing the fight against Satan, and they start going to a bad direction. A bad direction. Unfortunately, it's happened one too many times. That's why learning Torah is a must, regardless of whether or not you're doing Kiruv, regardless of whether or not you're old or young, regardless of whether you're not male or female, regardless. You must learn Torah daily to some extent, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, 100 minutes, 1,000 minutes, whatever you have. You have to learn Torah every day. Just like you have to breathe every day, you have to learn Torah every day. Next question.
As the Rav was explaining the relationship between Moshe and Aaron in the beginning, and then it went down to Pinchas becoming Eliyahu, introducing the Mashiach. The Torah, in many places, highlighted Aaron's characteristic of someone who's peaceful and makes peace among people, and reconciling people together. And the Torah also alludes in different places that Eliyahu and Navi is going to come in reconciling the children with their parents. Is that in a way, from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, was Hashem already hinting at what the role of Eliyahu would be in the future at the time of the Geulah?
Well, Eliyahu Navi came later on. Pinchas became Eliyahu hundreds of years later. Some people say that he became Eliyahu Navi during his life and just continued on living, and eventually Hashem took him away from this world. One of the Maasim, you see him and Elisha, the prophet, walking, and then Hashem took him there alive to Gan Eden or to Shamayim. Some say that Eliyahu Navi was the Gilgul, the reincarnation of Pinchas. There's a debate between the two. But nonetheless, he had one specific role. Aaron had a very different role. Aaron was the Kohen Gadol, was the original Kohen. All Kohanim that came later on came from Aaron. Also, the Kohanim Gadolim came from Pinchas as well. but nonetheless, it's two different missions, two very, very different missions the two had. Aaron was Rodef Shalom. Aaron was a peacemaker in a certain way by getting people to Torah, but at the same token, by chasing peace and in essence, sometimes even getting people to a uncomfortable situation just in order for them to make peace. What is it like? Reuven and Shimon fought. Reuven said, I'm going to kill you. Shimon said, I'm going to kill you first. They both hate each other. Aaron comes to Reuven. He says, I spoke to Shimon. He feels terrible. He says, I'm sorry. And this, he said, what, really? Yeah. He said, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So if he says, I'm sorry, already 90% of the anger is gone. But Shimon never said that. Then he goes to Shimon. He says, Reuven said, and, he feels bad. He feels terrible. He feels this. Okay, so his 90% of the anger is gone. By the time now they want to go meet each other, by the time they figure out that Aaron and Essence technically made it up, they realize for their own interest, might as well have peace already. Shalom Aleichem. Everything is good. Everything is gone. And the Sfarim, the Mishnah, the Gemara says that 22,000 couples have had their marriage saved because of Aaron HaKohen. 22,000, meaning 44,000 people. So Aaron HaKohen had his ways which was unique to him. I know many people try to be Aaron HaKohen, but it's quite different. We learned a Mishnah about 8 or 9 months ago in Avot, where it talks about Aaron HaKohen. I forgot which one it was, but it's in the beginning. It's in Perek Aleph, and it specifically says that the way that he did it is by the way of Torah, not by his opinion. Like the story that I gave you is a story that's common. It's not really the real way. I mean, he did it with a lot more details than what I'm telling you. But the point is that Aaron had his role. Pinchas, on the other hand, was the symbol of zealousness. Pinchas had zealousness where he was the only one that was allowed to exercise that level of zealousness. Because the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says that if a person has such zealous nature to Hashem, like Pinchas had, and he sees a Jew and a non-Jew in the middle of them being intimate. They're intimate at that moment. It's a mitzvah for him to kill them both. But if he doesn't have the zealousness of Pinchas, he's not allowed. If he doesn't have the zealousness of Pinchas, he's not allowed. Meaning, the zealousness of Pinchas was unique. I mean, he was literally willing, there was no thinking for him about, maybe they're going to kill me, or maybe it was only Hashem. That level of commitment is unusual to most of us, if not all of us in this generation. So, point is that each one had their own role, but I'm sure that the Sfarim HaKadoshim, I'm sure the Arizal, I'm sure Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Akiva, and many, many others in books and places that I haven't read yet, have talked about different things in regards to the connection of this parasha to the Mashiach, and probably every parasha and everywhere in the Torah to the Mashiach. And that's actually one of the things we learned from the sages, that every single parasha, every single page, and practically every verse, you can find some connection to one of the prophecies to the days of Mashiach. As far as the specific things between Aaron and Pinchas and so on, I don't know all the details other than what I told you today, but you can find a prophecy in every parasha, in every page, in every verse. There's always a prophecy. Always. It's not a history book, like we always say. It's not a history book. Finished?
One more thing. I almost forgot about that. So many of us work in the secular world, or business world, and we have colleagues that are females. And some of us have set up the perimeters where they understand that we're Shemini Gia, we don't touch, we don't hug, we don't kiss, we don't do any of that. But some people are very affectionate and they feel like they have to do something to compensate for that. So some people would say, hair hug.
Hug?
Hair hug.
Air hug? What's an air hug?
hugging in the air, like in their head they just hug themselves, and in their head they're hugging you. Or they say, I know I can touch you, can I hug this other guy for you? So what
Wait, is this a mental institution?
it's actually not a mental institution. These people are actually therapists. So, anyway, but what are the dangers of that? Because if the person who's in the situation, he doesn't agree with that, he cannot say, yes, you can hug somebody for me. What are the dangers of that? It creates some level of discomfort.
Well, if it's not a mental institution, then we have to answer it. If it's a mental institution, it would have been easy. I would just told you, patur. You don't have to fulfill the mitzvah.
It's hard. Let me tell you, Hazal. Today, I had a meeting, an idea, and it was a lady, very nice lady. And at the end of the meeting, he said, you know what? I think you're refusing me to give you a hug. You are the only one I haven't given a hug. And she started touching me around the table. I mean, I'm sure she didn't do it because of whatever. I hug everybody. Why you have me hug me? What do you mean?
So for those people, okay, about shaking hands with other women, they're not your wife. Obviously, you know that hugging them is even worse.
Yes.
Okay. Let me just put it this way to you. If you look at the Sfarim HaKadoshim, you look at the Gemara, you look at the Zohar, you look at the 5 books of Moses, you look at commentaries, Midrashim, everywhere. The things that I told you about not being allowed are an understatement. Understatement. To hug a woman that's not your wife, that's asura, that's not allowed, that's forbidden to you, whether it's because she is another man's wife, or because she's your wife that's nida, it's your wife but she's nida, or it's a woman that's simply not allowed to you, it's a non-Jew, or so on. It's a gilui arayot. It's considered gilui arayot. And Chazal says that even if it's not the actual action of gilui arayot, which means it's a sex crime, which is one of the 3 major sins that it's better you die and not sin it. It's still, even if it's not the actual action of intimacy, that's really the real gilui arayot, it's still considered gilui arayot. Why? Something that's domeh, it's the same. Something that's like it, it's considered it itself. Meaning, it's better that a person dies and not hug a woman that's not his wife. Better that he dies. It's better that he dies than go to a beach that has, both genders there. It's better that he dies than go to a mixed dancing party, whether it be a wedding or a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah or some awards dinner. It's better that he dies than see some of these things. That's the reality. That's what the Chachamim actually say. I don't say this in every lecture because I know that I have enough enemies that probably, are looking for me in the corner. But nonetheless, apparently you guys asked the question because Hashem wants this information to be known. So the issue of hugging women that are not your wife is not a small, it's a huge deal. Kissing a woman that's not your wife, Shem Yerachem, Hashem Yerachem. There's a special mador in Gehinom for such people. Seriously, Bemet. I'll show you in Reshit Chochmah. There's a special place in Gehinom for them, for kissing a woman that's not their wife. They actually say, you kiss a woman that's not your wife, there's a special place for you in Gehinom. Why? It leads to the worst things in the world. If not actions, thoughts. And thoughts lead to actions. So, it's a big deal. So that's why it's highly recommended to be upfront about it. It's highly recommended to make it a big deal. It's highly recommended to not use euphemisms like trying to minimize it. Yeah, it's my religion, but really I want to do it. But no, I'm not allowed. Like mamash, just like saying, hey, sorry, it's not for me. Like, don't be nice about it. Like, don't be mean. But don't be like, I really want, don't sugarcoat it. There's no sugarcoating. Why? People will never respect you if you sugarcoat things. They're always going to think that maybe he's smiling at me, so in reality he really wants to hug me. She's winking at me, so in reality she wants to hug me. She really wants to, but she's probably embarrassed of this guy or that guy. But if we were alone, she would do it. Like they don't take you seriously because it looks fake. So you're better off running away. I tell you one thing. We had guests one time that were not Jewish. Now to explain this to Jews is not difficult because they understand the Torah has certain rules that may or may not be your norm, but nonetheless it's in the Torah. Goyim, on the other hand, don't necessarily understand that. Why? You still have to tell them what God is, Bechlad. To get to this, it's you're fast forwarding 3 years worth of lectures. So one time we had guests and they didn't know anything about anything, any Judaism or anything. It's like an old friend or whatever. And I came out and I said, "Oh, hey, hi, how you doing? How you doing?" To say hello. I don't know this person. It was an old friend of my wife's. Came to visit or something like that. And I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she got up and she wanted to come shake my hand. I was like, "Oh, 1 second. I'll be right back. I got to go to the men's room for a second. 1 second." I went to the bathroom. I stayed there for an hour until they left. Because I knew that coming out, I don't have any. I'm not allowed. I'm not this. You're gonna take it offensively. So I'm gonna stay in the bathroom for an hour. You understand what I'm saying? So listen, at that time I didn't have as much as I do today. But nonetheless, the point is that it's not always so easy to tell somebody no. I understand. I'm realistic. I wasn't born on Mount Sinai. I understand. I understand it's not so easy, but you can't do it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You want to hide in the bathroom, hide in the bathroom. You want to tell them no, tell them no. You want to write a little piece of paper, tape it on your whatever. Point I'm trying to tell you, the real point I'm trying to tell you, just don't do it. Just don't say, I'm not ready, so don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's simply not worth it. That's the key. Yeah.
In one of my profession, I have two professions actually. I have to relate with a lot of women.
You have to.
Because I'm a nurse, for instance.
Okay. Well, as a profession, it's different. As a profession, it's different. If, for example, doctors that are women's doctors, women in general should try their best to go to a woman doctor. Women in general should try to go to a Jewish woman doctor. In general, should try. If you cannot find a Jewish woman doctor, then you should go to a woman doctor. Non-Jewish, but a woman doctor. If you cannot find a woman doctor, then you can go to a Jewish man doctor that's religious. Why? Because he understands the laws and so on, and he's not one of these sotim, at least doesn't look like it. He's one of these crazy people. So you should try to go to, because it's allowed for professional reasons. Even in Gemara, Masechet Ta'anit, and a few other places, a few Chachamim with doctors and so on, it talks about how they were, but they were real tzaddikim that would cover the people. The point I'm trying to say is that you should try to, even in the professional aspect of things, you should try to go to the same gender. Men should go to men, women should go to women, and so on. Now, if there's no other, there's pashut, emergency room, or whatever, there's no other option, you're allowed to use any doctor you want, and they are able to do whatever is necessary to do. There's no issues of immodesty there, because it's to save your life, or possibly save your life, or whatever it is. If you're the professional, if you're the doctor or the nurse or whatever it is, then you obviously have to make sure that you are as professional as can humanly possibly be, and you watch your eyes and you make sure that you are trying to do the best job. You keep it, purely professional. There's no this small talk. The small talk, hey, where are you from? Hey, I'm from Jamaica. Oh, yeah, wow, I'm from Queens. Oh, wow, there's no small talk. To be a doctor, be a nurse, be whatever it is that you need to be, finish the job, go on. You can ask them, obviously, do you feel this? Do you feel this? Do you do this? For your professional aspect of it, do what you got to do. But nothing more. Nothing more. You're not looking for friends. You're looking to do a job. Why? Because this is how the Satan comes in with a small little nail and he becomes a house. Initially become a small conversation, then she winks at you, then he winks at you, the next thing you know, we're going for coffee, the next thing we know, we're Shemelchem. So you have to, if you're going to be in that profession, you have to know all the halachot, and you have to know what you can and can't do, and most importantly, you have to be professional. And if you can choose, if you have the ability to choose, you have the luxury of choice, choose only patients of the same sex. That's ideal. But no, I think most people don't have such a choice. So you need to know the laws, you need to make sure that you're extremely professional, and you're not putting yourself in front of the Yetzirah, and it doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter if you're 20 and they're 90. Makes no difference. You know? Again, you have to do the best that you can. You can do your job, there's no question. Doctors are needed. That's why Hashem gave you the knowledge and the ability to perform His will. As a doctor is no problem. But don't become crazy, like many people have become. You understand? So that's by the way, part of the reason why many doctors are horrible human beings is because part of becoming a doctor is becoming numb to other people's pain. Becoming numb to other people's pain. Why? Because the patients are constantly screaming, yelling, and if you took every single one of them to heart, you'd lose your mind. But that's also part of becoming not human. So you can't get to such a point where you're literally numb and the guy is screaming and dying from pain. You have to have some human in you. So that's why in today's world, it's very, very difficult to find a doctor with or a nurse with bedside manner that's human. Because part of the job requires you not to have it. Part of the job requires you to have it. So it's a very difficult job. It's a very, very difficult job. And I applaud all the ones that actually do it in a kosher way. But nonetheless, you have to make sure that kosher is still the way. Kosher is still the way. So if you have a choice, choose the right. If you don't have a choice, still do the best that you can to eliminate any yetzirah that's possible. And that's the same thing with any profession. It's the same thing with any profession. It's the same thing with any action. You need to test yourself constantly. You need to make sure that you're measuring yourself where you stand and where you're at and so on. And don't put yourself in front of test. You know for sure you're gonna fail. The Gemara says if someone is righteous, a righteous person, tzaddik, everything is great, and they tell him, listen, you have two ways to get from point A to point B. On the right side, you're going to get there in 5 minutes. But all 5 minutes is full of immodesty. Immodest women walking around with mini skirts and tank tops. On the left side, there's nothing. Kosher. But that's. Only problem is it's going to take 5 hours instead of 5 minutes. So the guy says, okay, I'm going to go on the 5 minutes. Instead of wasting time, I'm going to go 5 minutes. I'm just going to close my eyes. Gemara says, Rasha. Wicked. Why? Why'd you put yourself in such a test? How'd you know you're going to pass? So don't put yourself in certain tests that are necessary. If you can choose a male patient and you're a male, choose a male. If you're a female, choose female. If you're going to the doctor, choose test. Do the best you can. And know that when you do the best that you can, Abali ta'er mesein biyado. The Gemara says someone who tries to become pure, they help him from Shamayim. They help him become pure from Shamayim. But Abali tameh potchim lo. Someone who tries to become impure, someone who tries to sin, they open the door for him. What does it mean to open the door for him? Go, shoot yourself. Shoot yourself. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. We don't need people like that. Hashem doesn't need you. Doesn't need me. Doesn't need anything. He's good. He's perfect already. He's giving us an opportunity because He wants to give us good. He wants to give us good. Don't frustrate Him to the point where He can't give you the good that He wants. Why? Because He says that sin is going to cost. It's going to cost. There's a price for it. So, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to have a few shiurim next week in New York on Sunday. On Sunday, B'ezrat Hashem, we're shooting for B'ezrat Hashem. We're still going to have the shiur in Hollywood. On Sunday, we're still going to have the shiur in Hollywood. On Monday, we're doing a shiur in New York. B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be at a Bet Din. We have a couple of Talmidim that are completing their conversion, and also B'ezrat Hashem, also doing Chuppah and Kiddushin, Seidei, because that's the right way to do things. Chuppah right after conversion, because we already live together, and there's no point of waiting, delaying, or anything like that. So Chuppah and Kiddushin, they're going to do the same that they convert, B'ezrat Hashem. After that, we have a shiur in Queens at Bet Gavriel. It's a very big Bukharian shul in Queens, New York. We've done a couple of shiurim there. Tisha B'Av, about a year and a half ago. Not this Tisha B'Av, before that. We did a special there. Oh Hashem, maybe 600 people show up to that shiur over there. And then on Tuesday, we have 2 shiurim back to back, and one in Staten Island and one in Brooklyn. One at 7 o'clock and one at 9:30ish, 10 o'clock, something like that. 2 different keilot in New York, and then we're back to Florida, B'ezrat Hashem, on Wednesday. There is a possibility that maybe some other big organization, Idabrut, is going to be at the event. They want to film it. They want to put our stuff, our Torah, on their channel. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll see what happens. As long as it doesn't disturb what we're trying to do, I don't mind. As long, if it does, then I do mind. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll have one shiur over here, a few shiurim in New York. If you guys still have questions and everything like that, B'ezrat Hashem, you could send it to me. I'll try my best to answer. But we still have a lot more to learn. We still, I think, with the chapter 5 we just started of the Avot. But chapter 6 is, even though it's not that many Mishnayot, it's less than a dozen Mishnayot. Chapter 6 is going to be a very, very extensive chapter, because each one of the Mishnayot is like a page in some cases. So we're probably in chapter 6, we're going to do something that, B'ezrat Hashem, we haven't done until now, which is we're going to break up even the Mishnayot themselves into shulim by themselves. Some Mishnayot may be 10 shulim by themselves. A single Mishnah maybe 10, 15 shulim. Because they're heavy. So, B'ezrat Hashem, I think we had a lot of interesting chidushim today, about the parasha, about the Mishnah, about Musar, about wigs. Well, hopefully people take what came from the heart to their heart and understand that this is exactly what needs to be said and what needs to be done, and not for any personal bias or interest or anything like that. So, Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.